So, as mentioned, what to do with the 8 million litres of water sloshing around in SkyCity Convention Centre's basement car park as a result of the firefighting efforts there. Auckland Council officials are waiting on tests to see what, if any, contaminants are in that water before deciding where to pump it. Nick Vigar is Auckland Council's SafeSwim program manager and he joins us now live. Nick, what is the main concern with this water?
The immediate problem, Lisa, is that we understand this is causing a hazard for the firefighters in the basement. We understand cars in the basement are starting to float, and they've advised us they need to get the water out as rapidly as possible. So, given that and the fact that at the moment we don't understand the level of contaminants in the water, that's the main hazard that exists presently.
So, in simple terms, what could be in that water? What are the things you're most on the lookout for in it?
We're most concerned about a whole lot of combustion products, as a result of the fire. So things like volatile organic compounds are the tests, and hydrocarbons are the tests that we're doing to understand the immediate chemistry of the water.
Hydrocarbons, sorry to interrupt, Nick, but just in simple terms, so hydrocarbons, are you meaning like, petrol
oil.
and other fuels, oil, okay.
Yeah, yes, potentially. Part of that is also our concern around the basement is that as cars start to float, that we potentially get more contamination than we have at the moment. So part of this is managing risk to minimise any more contamination to that water.
So that's kind of quite time-specific, isn't it? If the cars are starting to float now, this could progress. So you need to get it done in relatively quick, smart time.
Yes, it's urgent, definitely.
So where is runoff going at the moment?
So most of the runoff from the water that the fire and emergency New Zealand are putting on there, most of that is ending up on the street. There's obviously and that's going into the stormwater network and has been for several days.
So straight to the ocean, basically, untreated.
Yes, basically, as in any fire event, and that's been happening for a few days. We think that the risk of that is relatively low. There's obviously potentially some toxins in there, but our main concern at the moment is the proportion of the water that's ended up in the basement of the car park, which we believe, because it's made its way down through the fire areas of the convention centre, we're concerned that that'll have a higher level of toxic compounds in it. So
you're waiting for test results, some due back later tonight and some in the morning, correct?
Yes, we're waiting on a whole range, and we'll keep testing. The immediate results are really to inform us and to inform Watercare about the quality of the water, and we'll have a discussion with Watercare at that point about whether we can put it into their network rather than the stormwater.
So their network would be the wastewater, so it would go through treatment before you dispose of it, in essence.
Yeah, correct. So that's ideal. Obviously, no one wants to put this untreated into the harbour. The other part of that, of course, is that if we can get this water into the wastewater network, eventually it will end up at the Maungahariri wastewater treatment plant, and at that treatment plant they have biological reactors. So the key.
So what are biological reactors, Nick?
They're effectively living reactors. So they have biological organisms that are removing the contaminants from the system. They're a key part of the wastewater network. And the risk is for Watercare, if there's toxins in that water that will effectively kill off the microorganisms in those biological reactors, then that will compromise the whole wastewater system. So that's the key issue we're addressing at the moment in terms of whether we can put it into the wastewater.
So if you can't go down that route, will it go straight to the ocean?
It will, as long as we have to relieve this immediate hazard in the building, obviously. So we're taking all the measures that we can to minimise that hazard. We've got oil booms in the basement itself to try and mop up any hydrocarbons that are there, and we're also pumping from the middle of the water column. So we're trying to avoid pumping any contaminated sediment out of the basement, and we're trying to avoid pumping any contaminated oils.
But in essence, depending on the results of this test, there's still a possibility that you may have to discharge contaminated water straight into the ocean.
We are currently discharging into the
but at a
stormwater
greater
network
volume.
to relieve the hazard. Yeah, look, we have to keep discharging to remove the immediate hazard. It's a health and safety issue, and it's needed to proceed with the recovery. Obviously, as soon as that immediate problem is gone, we will stop pumping.
Okay.
But in the meantime, we have to continue to do it. So we have that water will currently be coming out around the Viaduct Basin. We've put a SafeSwim hazard alert in that to warn people that the water's potentially contaminated, and we'll just keep reviewing that situation.
Appreciate your time this evening. That's Nick Vigar, who is Auckland Council's SafeSwim Program Manager. As he said, they're waiting on tests there about that water, 8 million litres of it in the basement of the car park at SkyCity.